This is a introduction to Google Classroom for those at the Penn Yan Middle School. The first thing I do want to talk about is what is the purpose of Google Classroom. It's really designated as a place to share information with your students. In the past, I have done this using a Google website or Google Sites. And it does take a bit of understanding of how to build a website to do that and to have that online presence. What Google Classroom really has allowed me to do is I actually, in the last 2 years, have stopped maintaining my Google website and have switched everything over to the Google Classroom. It seems more intuitive for students to understand how to get there and what to do when they actually do get there. And so it's a very user-friendly way of sharing information with your students, even more so than a standard website. And so that is what we're going to be looking at today, is how we can share information with our students using Google Classroom. And so what can Classroom do? It is limited. It can't do everything that a typical website might do, but it does allow you to do these things. You can make announcements to your students. You can hold online discussions. You can make an announcement and have students comment on it. You can also take quick polls from students if you want to do some type of question starter at the beginning of the period, or some type of check for understanding at the end. It's a very quick way to do a poll. You can even do that on the fly. If you had a quick question you wanted to see if the students understood, you weren't sure if they were getting it, rather than ask the class, you could put a quick poll up and get some feedback really quickly. It is a step to going to a paperless classroom. You can, in Google Classroom, push out your documents. It will organize them for you. It will make copies for each student. It allows you to view those copies and then collect those copies as well. And so it is a great organizational tool for going to a paperless classroom. And in general, it allows you to share materials, whether or not that's reading that you want the students to do, a link to a website, videos you want them to watch. Because they can't get to YouTube, you could put it into your Google Classroom and then they are able to watch it there. So lots of possibilities with Google Classroom. Today, what we're going to be looking at is, I'd like you, by the end of this video, to show me some artifact that you guys can use Google Classroom. So I want you guys to be able to create a Google Classroom. I'm going to have you invite students. In particular, I would like you to invite me so that I can tell that you have made a Google Classroom. And then I'm going to ask you guys to make an announcement. And so those are our goals for today, is to create a Google Classroom, learn how to invite students to your classroom, and then make an announcement in Google Classroom. And so to get started, what you need to do to find your Google Classroom is two things. First, you need to sign in to your PY Schools Gmail or your PY Schools Google account. And so make sure that you are signed into that. Once you have signed into your school Google account, you're going to go to this website, which is https://classroom.google.com. And I'm going to show you what that looks like for me. I am simply going to go over and create a new tab here. And my icon up here tells me that I'm already signed into my PY Schools account. And you have to be into a school account. You cannot do this with a regular Google account. This is a special add-on for educators. And since we are in an educational email account, then we can build a classroom. You can't build it off a personal Google one. Once you are signed into your account, you can just go up to the search bar. You can type in that website, or for me, Google knows what I want. So I'm just going to type in classroom, and it's going to autofill. I've been there often enough, but that's the website you want to go to, is classroom.google.com. And I'm going to hit enter. You guys are going to get a page that looks similar to this when you start. Once you've signed in, you'll see this little plus sign at the top corner, and it's going to ask you to join your first classroom. Once you guys have clicked onto the plus sign, you will come up to a page, and it will look something similar to this. You'll see this little plus up into the corner. What we're going to do today is create a classroom. You can see I already have three. I have one with Mr. Kubley. We've been helping to design one for his classroom. So I'm a co-teacher on that one. Here's my regular 7th grade science one, and here's one I've created for us that we'll use during our next Google Classroom session. But today I'd like you guys to make your own. So to do so, you're going to come up to the top right corner. You'll see this little plus sign. Once you click on that, it's going to give you a drop down of join a class or create a class. And today we're going to create a class. And so if you select create a class, it'll pop up here. And you guys can name it whatever you want. So I'm going to say Google Test Classroom for me. And this is you can leave the section blank, or you can fill it in. If you want to have a Google Classroom for each one of your sections, say you have 5 or 6 teachers, you could do that. I just have one. You can see all 123 of my students are in my first section. Once you've typed that in, you can decide if you want a section or not, and you're going to hit the create button. And it's that easy. You now have a Google Classroom. And you can see it looks a lot like a website. It allows you to start right away. There's a little tour button if you want to learn some about Google Classroom here. And then it can show you that you can create announcements down here. We're going to do that at the end of the lesson. This is a class code right here for when you want to add students to your classroom. You can click onto this, and I usually put this up on the board in the beginning of the year and have the students join the classroom on their own. And so if you wanted to have students in the classroom join, they just need this code right here when they wanted to join a class. So that's the code for a student to join the classroom. And the last thing we're going to do is work on inviting a student. And so we're going to go into that right now and add some people to our classroom. And so to do that, you're just going to move the tab over. You can see it's slightly underlined on stream. We're going to move that over to students. And now you're going to come up to this page. The students, again, could answer this code, but if we want to manually invite them, we're going to go down to this invite button right here. And it's going to come up to a page. Luckily, this is Google, and it knows your most likely people to add. So at this point, you could actually just type in my name to add me to your classroom. So you can just type in Straub. I think I'm the only one in the district. And it knows my other contacts, my wife here. But then you're going to find me on your Google one, and then you can invite that student. And so the first thing I'd like you guys to do is add me to your classroom. And you can add me as a student. And once you've selected my name, you can invite students. If you had to invite multiple people, you don't have to do this one at a time. If you wanted to invite Mr. Wigton, you could do that as well. And you can say, oh, there's Mr. Wigton, and you can now invite students. It's obviously didn't allow me to invite myself to my own classroom, but you can see here that it's now invited Mr. Wigton to our classroom. So at this point, we've built a classroom. We've invited students. If you want to, you could manually invite everyone, or you could just say we're setting up Google Classroom today in class. Have the students go to the same place that you did, and rather than hit the create button, they would hit the join button, and then they would enter in this code right here. Now the last thing I'd like to show you guys how to do is how to create an announcement. And to do that, you're going to click down here in this bottom right corner. So this is how you add things to your Google Classroom. And you'll see that there is reuse post, create a question, create an assignment, or create an announcement. So today, our last task is just to create an announcement. So if you click there, one of the typical things in computer programming is the first time you do anything, you kind of check to see if it works. And we're going to do hello world. It's a typical post that most people do to see if something's working. So you've typed in your announcement here. If you wanted to do an attachment of a file or something from your Google from your Google Drive, or a video or a link, that's all things that we can take a look at next week, but it's all here. And to put this into our classroom, all we'd have to do is hit the post button. And now you have made an announcement into your Google Classroom. I hope this video is helpful. By the end of it, you should have built a Google Classroom, invited me to the Google Classroom, and made an announcement to make sure that everybody knows what's going on. I'd like you to also, if you'd be so kind as to invite Ms. Johnson as well.
After you've added Ms. Johnson to the classroom, of course, you can just select her, invite students, and at that point, you guys have created your classroom. You've added both myself and Ms. Johnson, and you've also made your first announcement. Welcome to Google Classroom, and thanks for watching.